Hello dear learners, I am Dr. Asya Mudassil. In the previous video, we discussed the types of teacher education programs. Now let's move ahead to discuss something that will make you realize that teacher education is much more than you think. Have you ever wondered how teachers themselves are trained to teach? We often focus on what students learn in schools, but we rarely ask an important question: how are teachers prepared to guide those students? In India, teacher preparation is not random. It follows a carefully structured curriculum developed through national educational frameworks guided by institutions like National Council of Education Research and Training (NCERT) and National Council for Teacher Education (NCTE). In this video, we will explore the structure of teacher education curriculum that will explain how different subjects, training components, and teaching experiences are organized to prepare competent and reflective educators. So, the structure of teacher education curriculum includes three major components. And in this video, we will discuss only the first component, that is the theoretical foundations. Because of the vast nature of the topic, we will discuss only one. So far as the first area is concerned, the theoretical foundations, it includes educational psychology, philosophy of education, and sociology of education. Let's discuss all of them one by one. So, the first area of theoretical foundations is educational psychology. What is educational psychology? So far as educational psychology is concerned, it is the branch of psychology that studies how people learn and how teaching can be made more effective in educational settings. It includes how children learn, different learning styles, motivation and interest, emotional and social development, and individual differences among learners. So what is this, how children learn? This refers to the process through which children understand and remember knowledge. Children do not learn only by listening to the teacher. They learn through observation, practice, interaction, and experiences. For example, imagine a teacher explaining a plant. If the teacher only reads from the book, the students may forget quickly. But if the teacher shows a real plant, asks students to touch the leaves, and let them water the plant, students understand better. So educational psychology teaches teachers that learning becomes stronger through experience and activity. The second is different learning styles. What is that? My dear learners, not only students learn in the same way. Some students learn better by seeing, some by hearing, and some other by doing activities. For example, in a classroom, one student understands a concept quickly when the teacher draws a diagram on the board. Another student understands when the teacher explains verbally. A third student understands only after doing a practical activity. So a good teacher uses different teaching methods like diagrams, explanations, and activities to reach all learners. Next is motivation and interest. What's that? Motivation means encouraging students so that they feel interested in learning. If students are not motivated, even a good lesson may not be effective. For example, a teacher teaching history may simply say, "Today we will study a chapter." But another teacher may begin like this: "Did you know that one decision taken by a young leader changed the history of the entire nation?" Students immediately becomes curious. This curiosity creates interest and motivation. Educational psychology helps teachers learn how to motivate learners. Next is emotional and social development. Emotional and social development, what does that mean? Students are not only learners, they are also emotional and social human beings. Their feelings, relationships, and social environment affects learning. For example, if a student is sad, anxious, or if he is bullied or ignored by the classmates, the student may not concentrate on studies because he has another thing in his mind. A sensitive teacher will talk to the student calmly, encourage participation, create a friendly classroom environment. This supports emotional and social development. Next thing is individual differences among learners. Every student is unique. Students differ in intelligence, in interests, in backgrounds, in learning speed. For example, in one class, one student finishes work quickly, another student takes more time to understand the same concept. A good teacher does not label the second student as weak. Instead, the teacher provides extra explanation or practice. Educational psychology teaches teachers to respect these individual differences and adapt teaching accordingly. So, in the conclusion of this educational psychology area, we can say educational psychology helps teachers understand that every classroom is a world of diverse minds. A good teacher does not teach in one rigid way but adapts teaching according to learners. Now let's discuss the second area of theoretical foundation, that is philosophy of education. Philosophy of education is the branch of philosophy that studies the aim, nature, methods, and values of education. It tries to answer important questions such as what is the purpose of education? What should be taught in schools? What is the role of a teacher? What kind of person should education develop? What is the purpose of education? This question asks, why do we educate people? Is education only meant to help students pass examinations and get jobs? Or is it meant to help them become thoughtful and responsible human beings? For example, imagine two students who both score high marks. One student uses knowledge to help society and solve problems. Another student uses knowledge only for personal benefit. Both are educated in terms of information, but only one reflects the true purpose of education. Therefore, the purpose of education is not just acquiring knowledge, but also developing critical thinking, building responsible citizens, contributing to society. So, philosophy of education helps teachers understand that education should develop the whole person, not just the intellect. So, it includes the questions: what kind of society do we want to create? Education always shapes the future of the society. The way we educate children today will determine the kind of society we have tomorrow. For example, if education encourages competition without ethics, selfish success, ignoring others' needs, then society may become materialistic and divided. But if education promotes cooperation, respect for diversity, social responsibility, then society becomes peaceful, democratic, and inclusive. So teachers are not only teaching subjects, they are indirectly shaping the values and the character of the future citizens. That's why philosophy of education asks teachers to reflect on what kind of society education should build. So should education focus only on knowledge or also on the values and the character? If education focuses only on knowledge, students may become intelligent but not necessarily ethical or compassionate. Education should also develop honesty, empathy, responsibility, respect for others. For example, a student may be very good at mathematics or science, but if that student cheats in exams, disrespects others, misuses knowledge, their education has failed to develop the character. A teacher guided by philosophy of education therefore tries to teach both knowledge and values. For example, while teaching a lesson, the teacher may also encourage students to work cooperatively, respect different opinions, help classmates who struggle. Thus, education becomes a process of character formation as well as intellectual development. So, in its conclusion, we can say philosophy of education reminds us that teaching is not just about completing the syllabus, it is about shaping the thoughtful individuals and building a responsible society. So, friends, sociology of education is the another theoretical foundation of education that examines how society influences education and how education influences society, vice versa. It studies the social forces, relationships, and the structures that shape educational system, institutions, and learning experiences. It includes education as a social institution, socialization, social stratification and education, education and social change, and education and social mobility. So let's discuss them one by one. First is education as a social institution. Sociology of education views education as an important social institution, just like the family, religion, and government. Schools perform several social functions, for example, transmitting culture and values, preparing individuals for social roles, promoting social order and discipline. For example, schools teach students respect, cooperation, and responsibility, which helps maintain social harmony. Another is socialization. One of the key theoretical ideas is socialization. Socialization means the process through which individuals learn the norms, values, and behaviors of the society. Schools contribute to socialization by teaching moral values, social responsibility, cooperation, and teamwork. For example, morning assemblies, group activities, and classroom rules help students learn discipline and social behavior. Third is social stratification and education. Sociology of education also studies how social inequalities influence education. Students may experience different opportunities because of economic status, gender, caste, cultural background. For example, some students may have access to private schools and digital resources while others may not. Next is education and social change. Education is also seen as a powerful agent of social change. Through education, outdated beliefs can be challenged, new ideas and innovations spread, and societies progress towards equality and development. For example, education has helped improve women's empowerment and literacy rates in many societies. Next is education and social mobility. Education provides opportunities for individuals to improve their social and economic status. For example, a student from a poor family may become a doctor, teacher, or an engineer through education. This movement from one social level to the another is called social mobility. So, in conclusion, we can say the sociology of education provides a theoretical understanding of how education functions within the society, how social factors influence learning, and how education contributes to the social stability and change. So in this video, we discussed only the first aspect of the structure of teacher education curriculum, and wait for my another video for the other two parts. So this was all for today. Thank you.